All right, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right, so I see we already have one attendee with us. I'm just going to send out a reminder email to everyone. We're going to start in 10 minutes. And if Muaz joins in the middle, I'm just going to promote him panelist.
Right on, right on.
Hi, Muaz, can you hear me? Renee, it looks like your camera is like super blurry. And then Moz is gonna come in. Moaz, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so do you mind sharing your screen and so you can have.
Yeah, yes. 1 second. Let me just fix this slide a little bit.
Two minutes to showtime. 2 minutes to showtime.
Yep. I've sent out the reminder email. Right now, like not a lot of people have opened it. But we will begin on time because this is going to go live on YouTube as well. All right. And we are live. Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me? All right. So I see that my mic is working. I'll just go ahead and begin. This is EH, your host for today's session. We are with a pretty healthy panel today. Like usually it's just one or two people. Today we've got Coach Culbertson with us. We've got Muaz Shah. We've got Renee Pereira. The topic that we're going to be discussing today is recruiting for technology roles. So let me just quickly introduce the panelists, and then we can go ahead with this. So first, we've got Coach Culbertson. So Benjamin, the Coach Culbertson, is the head instructor at QuickStart. He has been teaching for almost 20 years, and he's worked with, it's safe to say, thousands of students over the course of over that course of time. So we thought it would be a really good idea to get him in here because he actually teaches people in cloud technologies and AI and machine learning and all that. So he's very close to the industry, and he knows exactly what's going on in the industry when it comes to the job situation, the skills gap, how there are more IT jobs open right now than there are IT professionals to fill them. So we thought it would be a really great idea to have the coach on board for this. Next up is Muaz. Muaz is the head of the legal department at QuickStart, and as well as he's an academic advisor in our bootcamp programs with Wagner College and with Texas A&M Kingsville University. And he's going to be talking a lot about how those bootcamp programs actually solve that problem, how QuickStart kind of exists to solve the skills gap in the IT industry right now. And last but not the least is Renee Pereira. Renee is our career advisor. She talks to multiple learners and students and IT professionals every day, and recommends them different learning paths and career paths. So she's also very, very close to this topic. So that's the panel, and guys, take it from here.
Awesome. Okay, well, thanks, EH. It is always awesome to come and hang out with everybody here, my colleagues, and those of you who are joining us potentially from around the world and around the country. Thanks again so much for joining us. So, we're talking about recruiting for tech roles on this one. And so if we want to go ahead and let's hit the next slide here. And this is us, by the way. We're so I feel like we should have like lightning and awesome effects for Muaz and Renee, the awesome technical wizard and the mighty princess of the universe, as I have deemed them. And I'm just a friendly neighborhood instructor, so it is awesome to be here with these guys and to talk to you guys about what's going on in the tech industry and recruiting, because you know what? We have some significant challenges that we're going to be talking about, and trends, and then also how the shop QuickStart can help solve your problems. And so that is what's on tap for this webinar. So let's get right into it here. So the major problem is that it is excruciatingly difficult to find technical talent in today's market. I mean, it's really, really hard, So just on Inc.com, okay, very common site. 67% of recruiters say it's harder than ever to find talent. And I have friends who are recruiters, and actually all of them, 100% of my friends who are recruiters say that's really hard to find the talent that these shops are looking for. And also McKinsey & Company, they're saying that there's like something like an 800% productivity gap in highly complex areas. And they're predicting that in 2020, by 2020, we're going to see somewhere between 16 and 18 million million jobs that are going empty because there just aren't the people to fill them. I mean, it's just it's rough out there to find the talent, and we're at an all-time low in terms of the market as well, because so many shops, they're having these, and this number 67% keeps showing up in all the research that I did for this for you guys, because I wanted to make sure I had numbers to back it up. 67% came up like in 3 different studies, and what a weird number to show up, but that's what we're looking at. I mean, there's a lot of folks out there that are having tough times getting the people that they need, getting the talent and into position. And a lot of them are saying that it's even more difficult than it was a year ago, because talent is becoming even more scarce in a lot of areas. And IT being one of the top areas that recruiters are just getting beat up by. So that's what kind of where we're at. And if we weren't there, then you probably wouldn't be here with us, because that's what we're talking about, and you're feeling the pinch, because there's a lot of folks that are just in these spots. They want to do more. They want to accomplish more with their teams, and oftentimes it's not a money problem. Oftentimes it's a problem the people just aren't there, especially in the areas. I mean, now I'm here in Austin, Texas, by the way, which is like startup capital universe. And like I said, I have multiple friends who are in recruiting, and they're directly recruiting for a lot of highly technical positions. And it's, if they do get somebody, that's awesome on the hook, sometimes that person will find another gig and they'll just ghost them. They just disappear. So Muaz, you're nodding your head. Is that something you've heard a lot of folks say?
Yeah, no, definitely. I just wanted to add another angle to this, that it's one thing that it's harder to find the talent, but the demand is increasing as well. So what the demand might be today is, especially in the IT industry, it's only getting more and more stronger, particularly, let's say, in cybersecurity. Where if you just put it out there, we're looking at 50 billion things connected to each other, the Internet of Things. And now you have your watch that's connected to your dog collar, that's connected to your car, that's connected to your AC, that's connected to your house. And how are you going to secure that? And this is the future. And this is why cybersecurity is such a hungry field. And I know some of you might be out there looking, that this is just an increasing need, but where are we going to get this? If we already have this talent shortage, where are we going to fill up this bigger gap that's showing up around the corner?
Yeah, for sure. Because it's not like IT is getting smaller. The Internet of Things is not reducing in size, right? So
Absolutely. And you know what? It's another thing, Coach. Just to be really honest, when insurance gets involved, there's an issue. So now when you have cybersecurity insurance. I'm just taking another example out of the cybersecurity hat. That there's an industry behind there. Companies are willing to invest in insurance to secure that. So clearly, where companies' security budgets at one time used to be just about guard dogs, guards, security cameras. Now a good chunk of that is towards cybersecurity. And there you see that increasing demand, how people are talking about data is the most valuable asset. It's no longer oil, it's no longer other things, but it's data. So, and that's, which data science becomes a very important role in that as well, another area that we cover.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, so let's talk about the cause on this one, because these are, I thought this was funny. Maybe nobody else does, but it's really hard to find cybersecurity people who are just out there in the wild. Like here in town, I think the average time for anyone in Austin to get a job right now is something like 2.5 weeks. So from the time someone becomes available to employ to the time that they're hired, signing papers, it's like 2.5 weeks. And for cybersecurity people, oftentimes it's even less, because as soon as a recruiter sees somebody in cybersecurity, they want to grab that person off the market as fast as they can. So yeah, so let's hit that next slide and talk about, you know, the realities that the shops are looking at, because right now it is really a seller's market in IT. If you've got the talents, you can negotiate up. You know, oh gee, and there's just not enough people to do the things. And here's something that I found really, really critical. Now, I've been in IT. All right, so let me date myself for just a second, all right? Since the 90s. And yes, I know I don't look it. It's the Botox. But, you know, back in the day, when I was getting started, I had 5 people who I counted as my mentors that I was not paying. 5 people that were deliberately investing in me, in my skill set, because they were friends of mine. They had skills that they wanted to pass down. Now, all 5 of those people, by the way, are now retired. Actually, with the exception of one who's still doing some freelance work. But, you know, we just don't have that journeyman apprentice relationship that was in IT. It was really passed down from person to person. And bringing people up was a natural part of the industry. And we had this kind of weird shift somewhere in the middle of the last 10 years where people started to say, well, if I train people or if I train someone, you know, they're going to take my job. And I'm like, so let's talk about that for a second. You know, they're not going to take your job. You know, they might go find another job that's just like yours that probably pays more. You know, so that's something that I feel like is really starting to decline, and a lot of training companies that were doing a lot of kind of filling in that gap of the journeyman and apprentice relationship, they've gone poof. Right. You know, and so
I just wanted to add, Coach, that you know, this was always a traditional way of learning, where you had a teacher. You look at blacksmiths, you go back, you know, even in today's industry, when you talk about electricians and you have that traditional approach, a little bit of the same terminology, journeyman, and so forth. That teacher or mentor relationship, that coach relationship with the student gives you that quality. Now, I can go ahead and produce quantitatively a lot of people, but you won't have that quality and that personalized experience where someone with that much talent and that much experience, as like Coach, you've been working from the 90s, and those peculiar circumstances and situations, those unique abnormalities are not written in textbooks. And you can't learn that unless you have a coach, you have someone, and if you want that quality performance, particularly when you're dealing with high-end technology, where everything's a small little nuance, it can make a difference of millions of dollars in cost. And so that's where those, like you said, they're in the wild. And, you know, it's time to get those few out in the wild and help train some of the younger talent more one-on-one. And I think that's something that, I don't know, it's a more philosophical discussion of maybe reforming the education as a whole in the IT industry and at large. But, you know, just that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, no, that's good words, man. That's good words. So this next point of this slide, and this is something that was really kind of preached a lot in the early 2000s, is that your talent is going to be either built or bought. You're either a buy shop or you're a make shop. And I thought this was so fascinating. These were vice presidents and CEOs that I kept hearing this from. And for a long time, we were in a position where talent was being built because it wasn't, you just couldn't buy it. You know, you couldn't buy it. And so the talent that was available were people who had natural inclination in the industry. And, you know, then skills were taught. As a matter of fact, I'm actually a result of this. So back in 2001, I was right in the middle of the dot-bomb boom, right? So I made a whole bunch of money back in the dot-com era, and then I lost all of it. And I had to go work for Steak and Shake, which is a 24-hour diner, which I love, by the way. It was an amazing experience. But but I realized that, I didn't think I didn't want to be in the fast-paced restaurant industry. And so there's a shop that actually gave me the opportunity to go in, get certified, build my skill, and then turn around and utilize that skill within the shop. And they were a make shop. They were a make shop. And everything that I still learn today, all of my best practices were from that era. And so I'm a huge fan of this making talent, right? And sure, you can buy talent if it's available, but we're at a space now where it's just not always available. So, all right. So, Muaz, this is yours, right?
Yeah. So I just wanted to kind of touch a little bit when we talk about the education. You kind of mentioned about that apprenticeship relationship and what are we looking at in the industry when it comes to how we develop that talent. So of course, there's a more recent conversation going around when you talk about university education and when the non-traditional boot camps or technical education or online education, and what are some of the differences. So you have a lot of outdated teaching. We note that in a rapidly changing technological environment, what you learned 4 years ago becomes outdated pretty quickly in the industry. Whereas if you're engaged in a learning sphere where it's up to date and the latest information, why do we have that continuing education in a lot of the IT certifications, and they get expired after a while simply because of that reason, to keep up to date? I mean, I can come in with a computer science degree from 1976 and, sure, and have a master's and whatever, but I might not know a lick about Python, and I'm really outdated. And what does that show? And I'm using an extreme example, but the changes in technology, coach, have been so rapid that now it's like, within that first year, you're just like, oh my God, I just learned something and now it's outdated. And that's something, and that's the reality. And, where you have a broad area theoretical versus a specific technical skills with practical value. And as businesses, they're looking for someone to get the job done. I mean, it's great to have theory. It's great to have that, type of learning as well. And there's no downside to that. But at the same time, where specific technical skills are needed, that practical value is important.
Mm-hmm. Especially nowadays with cloud and everything that's happening in cloud and cybersecurity, the new schools of thought around web development. And that doesn't include like data science and machine learning on the back end. Oh, it spirals really, really quickly into you either got to keep up or fall behind.
Right. So I just pulled out a few quotes, and this is not just when we talk about non-governmental or company as well. We're talking about governmental institutions as well have come to this realization. And me and Coach, government's always the slowest to the party, but we're talking about municipal counties saying that, these college degree requirements is not necessary. We need people with a specific skill set. And of course, there was a big news a few years back where big companies like Google, Nordstrom, Bank of America, Ernst & Young, one of the top accounting firms in the world, IBM and Apple. We're looking at companies that are not just in the tech industry, but in banking. We're looking at accounting. We're looking at other areas. They want experience in non-traditional education, such as coding boot camps or industry-related vocational classes. Mm-hmm. And here's another quote from another story on the same issue where people without college degrees allowing those with technical educations to be hired instead. And this idea of technical online education and coding boot camps are growing more and more attractive as a college alternative due to this drop in the college degree requirement. And we see that with these big top 15 companies when they made that declaration and they made that huge step. And they're the industry leaders, right? And they're coming to this realization. So obviously, when we talk about the industry leaders and these top tech companies and others in different industries realizing this, that, hey, we need that specific skill set, that talent. If we can get that from this non-traditional education, from coding boot camps, this is something that we could really work with. And I think if that's this trend that we're getting into, then we might see, I dare say it, Coach, the end of universities. Well, I might say that's pretty quick. it's a little bit quick assumption, but it's become like and that's another philosophical topic for another time. Uh, but at the same time, when we talk about the practical benefits, this is what the higher ups, the top industry leaders, the companies, they've come to this realization. So we will see an increasing need of this educational talent in these non-traditional routes.
Yeah, and even with folks from a traditional four-year background, right here in town, like there's been a number of my friends who have been, who consequently are like 15 years younger than I am, but they're all going to these coding boot camps. So a friend of mine, Brent, who just finished his up, he was in one for a significant amount of time, and he literally walked across the stage in graduation into a job. And I was like, what just happened here? And he's, talked to me the next day at lunch, and I'm like, what do you mean I just signed the papers this morning, and I was like, that's incredible, but literally as soon as he walked off the stage of this boot camp, and he's got a 4-year degree, I think it's in philosophy or English or something. So, but now he's a coder.
There you go. Go.
Yeah. So the solution, I think, but is a lot less about buying talent and recruiting talent, and more about buying talent just built. Because I think that this either or mindset that we have is like we either have to go out and buy, have to go find it and buy it, or build it. I'm not sure that that's necessarily the case. And so as a shop, we have these QuickStart Bootcamps. So we literally have people in right now that are actually preparing and building their talents, training for their IT careers, that are actually in cybersecurity and web development and data science right now. And I think that the fact that they're being taught by the same instructors, myself included, the same folks who are teaching NASA and Boeing and the US Army and a whole lot more, we're not talking about, people who read a book and just turn around and decided to start teaching this stuff. All of our instructors are deeply experienced. And again, there's that mentoring relationship that can be established in, while they're in this program, where we can transfer all these weird little nuances that we learned while we were sitting, in a data center at 3 a.m. watching this server. It's a quickie mass of metal turn back into, an actual functional device. So, that's a really awesome thing about these programs. And I think it's just a tremendous opportunity that, we're kind of moving back into this journeyman apprentice relationship for the months that our folks are in here and getting certified and getting their sea legs underneath them. So when they're done, they're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, I just wanted to add there that extra value that you're talking about, because let's be honest, Coach, I mean, if you have the drive and the willpower, you can go online. The internet has a vast array of information. You could study, you could, watch some videos. You could actually go take these certifications and pass. But that extra quality, when we talk about that personalized relationship, a 6-month journey, we're talking about, a master and the journeyman, working together, learning, developing a relationship. And again, like you said, building on that specific nuances that might have, occurred in their career, that sort of value is what creates quality. Like you could churn out a bunch of cybersecurity grads, just like, press play and there's watch a bunch of videos, read a bunch of text, and go take your exam. But when we talk about someone, in a closed classroom, engaging them multiple times throughout the week, face to face, it's a completely different perspective. There's a relationship that builds there, and I think that is a really solid foundation for something that's really valuable when it comes to some of the graduates in these boot camps.
Yeah, for sure. And the people that are in the boot camps right now, they're going to be ready for hiring in December of this year. And so this is something that we wanted to make sure you guys are aware of, those of you who are attending, which is a big deal. So Muaz, why don't you tell us a little bit more about their process and what they're going through in these boot camps?
Okay. Thanks a lot, Coach. So basically, as Coach had covered already, these are the boot camps, the QuickStart boot camps, the technical education that we need to im uh, essentially what we call is getting more and more important when it comes to uh, the compared to university education. So some of the things that you've mentioned already is the information security, the web development, and data science as being the areas that we're covering currently in our boot camps. And so I just wanted to cover a little bit on the teaching methodology of how we create this next generation of experts, right? And we kind of spoke a little bit about that with Coach and the teaching methodology. And one of the main thing that we have is minimum time, maximum learning. And we know that this is a key element when it comes to learning this, vast array of information when it comes to the data science, when it comes to cybersecurity, when it comes to web development. And we have these structured boot camps in which we have weekly sessions twice a week, and the expert instructor gives 2 hours apiece covering this information when it talks about, we start off, let's say, cybersecurity with A plus, you cover network plus, and then you move into security plus, uh, uh, cybersecurity analyst, and all these industry approved examinations and standards. Based on that curriculum, the instructor engages the students. And of course, a key element of that is the self-paced learning that includes the hands-on labs. And I think it's like we spoke a little bit earlier about it's one thing to learn theory in books, but how do we put that into practicality? So these virtual lab environments that you're sitting and opens a computer and there's your problem. The computer has a problem. You have to solve it right then and there. And that's what a lot of students really enjoy in these boot camps as we've been kind of engaging them because it really gives them that hands-on learning. And you take that lab and you magnify it after a culmination of the learnings in the boot camp at a certain point, and we have these markers where we actually introduce a project that brings all that learning together, and they're able to demonstrate that hey, we know A plus, network plus, security plus, and this is the challenge that we got, and in response to that, they come and deliver through the project, and that's that practical display of talent that's necessary for the industry to view. And I understand employers would be like, hey, it's great. You went and read all the books, you got these certifications, but what do you have to show for it? Right. And that's what
Can
our
you
students are
push the
like,
buttons, Moz? That's the
yes,
question. Can you push the buttons?
you push the buttons. Exactly. And I think that's what these boot camps are able to do more better, especially our boot camps that are designed in a way where not only we have minuscule display of can they push the small buttons, but also the big ones. And that's what we have with our labs and then with our projects. So speaking a little bit about our boot camp structure, of course you have the theoretical and the online modules and the structure for that. I think there has to be a base learning that's always there. You cannot avoid that. And it is important, and there are the foundational blocks to the learning. Of course, then on top of that is your weekly sessions with the mentors, and that's that engagement, that expert with the journeyman and with the master and with the student, where you have those special nuances that they share and specific kind of learnings that they had in their own experience that really adds color to the student profile. And of course, the mini projects that we kind of discussed a little bit. So it's not just one big project, which we also have, which is the capstone project, a culmination of the entire learnings of cybersecurity, and then the student then being able to display that in a thesis form. Essentially, that's what it is. It's a thesis of putting it all together and showing you that they really know their stuff. And of course, our coaching and discussion forums between. So on the off time, they have, of course, a sense of communication and contact constantly with each other. So it's a group learning as well at the same time with the coaches, the engagement with the coaches. So this is kind of our essential five main kind of pegs to the bootcamp structure. In the end product, what do we get? A polished IT gem. in cybersecurity, web development, data science, right? And I'll just be honest with you, our candidates are vetted candidates because our program only sustains the strongest IT acumen. There's a lot of people who feel this program might be too tough. And clearly, when you have a boot camp, the boot camp is designed where you have, to really push you to the limit to ensure that really when you get out of that boot camp, you have the cream of the crop, right? The talent is there. And that's what our boot camp really gives at the end is that polished IT gem that's there in the market for your benefit. So what is your benefit? Well, it's easy access. It's cutting down the time to find the right candidate. And that's something that we spoke about earlier, coach, is that, well, how do we find these guys? I mean, we just, how look, there's in the wild, there's a guy. Well, you know what? If you look over here towards the QuickStart Bootcamps, they're lining up right there. And you can engage our graduates and get that. It's guaranteed talent. Why? Because we have industry experts not only teaching them, you have solid certifications that are already industry approved, right? So that's already there, plus the strong portfolios. And then this vetted background in the 6-month boot camp that they push themselves and struggle through, get there. And that's truly what these boot camps are. It's a struggle. And so the students that we do get coming out at the end are really, can really say that they have covered the length and breadth of these wide arrays of IT areas. And of course, reasonable cost. Let's be honest, right? Employers, this is a big thing, right? You get a guy who's got 10 years experience, it's going to be costly. Some guy who's 20 years experience, it's going to be costly. But some guy who's coming out that's fresh talent, that is good, vetted, honest talent, that's hard to get early with solid experience. It's hard to get someone vetted like that. And it may be more cost effective.
Also about that, Muaz, they also don't have as many bad habits as the guys who've been in the industry for 10 to 20 years have.
That's interesting that you say that. I don't know the figure, but I remember reading a story about how essentially probably the biggest problem in cybersecurity is the human. The lack of changing passwords and keeping, very similar passwords and writing your passwords down on the notepad that's right in front of your desk. Yes. So after all that, it's the human errors that are really there. So you're right. You're right about that. And I think that's something that, our QuickStart Bootcamps really gives that type of enriched learning, the technical talent, the personal talent when it comes to having that mentor and coaching experience with someone who's that experienced in the industry. So I just wanted to share that. You can obviously connect with us today, bootcamps@quickstart.com, and we're always welcome to reach out and see if there's anything we could collaborate and connect on and help you in any of your needs in respect to that. So I'll give it back to you, Coach.
Nice. Yeah, so one thing that also our CEO, Ed, who's just an amazing guy, he said that also as people are getting jobs as they're stepping out of the boot camp, he's offering to continue to train them for an additional year, after that. So if there are pockets of skills that they still need to pick up during the first year of employment, QuickStart will step in, will help fill those. So we come to the mighty princess of the universe next with, if you want to get in contact with qualified candidates. Renee, you want to unmute your mic and tell us a little bit about, how folks can get in contact with you and a little bit more about the program.
Hi guys, I'm Renee Pereira and I'm the student counselor. So basically you can contact me through my email address as you can see on your screen, and I'd love to get in touch with you and discuss the possibility of collaborating and providing IT experts that have graduated from our boot camps. So I look forward to getting in touch with you, and thank you.
All right, awesome. So there you have it, my friends. So 2 places you can get in contact with us. We got the boot camp's address. You can connect with Renee as well directly. And at this point in time, we just want to say thanks for hanging out with us. If you have any questions, you go ahead and turn them loose into the chat box there, and we'll wrangle them up as quick as we can. But otherwise, unless you all have questions, we're going to wrap it up.
All right. So it looks like there are no questions at this time.
Okay.
Later on, like if you have any questions about this topic or you want to discuss recruitment or anything, just reach out to us at marketing@quickstart.com. And Coach, I'm going to see you tomorrow in another training session on ransomware.
Oh,
Thank you
yeah.
guys. This was great. See you
All
guys.
right.
Very
Thanks,
All
soon.
right.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.